sure is leaking. Could you do me a favor and check it? And when I went back, the guy told me, he says, yeah, he says that heater control valve is definitely leaking. But due to the unavailability of those things, nobody's making them, at least right now anyway, and there's not any on eBay. And the only place that is offering any rebuild is Shoebox Central in Oklahoma City. So they are set up to do it. They're set up to rebuild the Ranco heater control valves, and I have to send mine in to them. So I've got it boxed up. I'm going to take it to FedEx in the morning and send it to them. And I think they said there's about a week turnaround on them, and then I'll send them back to me. They did have some done. They asked the customers if they'd send their cores back to them so they could rebuild them and sell them. And they would send them a new rebuilt one, but nobody did that. So they're reduced now to just having you send your own in, they'll rebuild it, they'll send it back. So that's kind of what the story is there.
Well, interesting story. At least it's not a rebuild there. And I guess I was kind of chuckling to myself. I guess there's not enough activity in that area for the Chinese to make a counterfeit version. But maybe that's good. But I guess considering it's old school, I guess if you're a guest, you could just find that in your car, right? And don't buy it and just put your eyes on it and
Oh yeah, well, you know, like the chances are of us driving this thing at Super Bowl Road is pretty nil anyway. You know, I hooked up before up, and you know the heater hoses weren't right on it when I got it, and I figured it was due to those things leaking. No possibility. So I went ahead and tried them anyway, and I hooked up the heater hoses correctly, and sure enough, they were leaking. So you know, just in the interest of getting it right and making it right, you know, I went ahead and just, you know, decided to just throw the money into that. And we got it. So anyway, you know, some of these guys have been talking. You know, there's a lot of people getting out of the business because they say that the quality of the parts is absolutely awful. And I'll be honest with you, I have run into that myself. You know, damn things are made who knows where, and you know, they just don't last, or they're broke when you get them. I mean, you know, it's a lot of guys don't want to do it anymore, especially engine builders. You know, because of the quality of the parts. You know, everything's sourced out of the country. And it's very frustrating to people. I'm finding that out now too, because it's definitely not like it was 20 years ago. W7MS K0DWC.
Okay, yeah, one final word on that. I understand that. I watched some of the YouTube. I guess one I watched was Ivan Cars, and I was just appalled with the shot. My lack of knowledge on the modern engine and lack of quality, machine quality, alloy quality, and also the fact they're so darn complicated. You go to dozens, if not hundreds, of single-point failure modes with all that stuff. But the idea of, you know, having a 300,000-mile engine on most new cars is you know, it's not back in time to the 100,000-mile Chevy Impala, you know, when you kind of trade it in and buy a new one every 3 years. It's shocking, but you're old school, and looking forward to seeing a drive-by sometime in the future, W7MS.
Yeah, it's good rough, but, you know, it's doable, I guess. Let's see if there's anybody else out there who wants to check in early. The D number 2 for the Big Military Radio, and you're welcome to come now. WA7YBS. Well, good morning, Henry. You're sounding nice and loud this morning. Mikey's on something kind of interesting. Carbon mic and stepped down a little bit. I'm sure you heard him, but maybe it's the wireless set 19, maybe, I'm guessing. Anyway, Henry, good morning, and hope you're doing good. And we'll make a transmission, turn back up to me, K0DWC.
Okay, well, the first thing I have to do is tweak and peek here. So just see if we can get things a little better. But that's probably as good as it gets. Yeah, I'm not running anything interesting, that's for sure. This is the 32V3. And so anyway, that's the transmitter, probably 110 watts or so, the carrier. And then the Raycal receiver, the RA17L linear array antenna. And unamplified demo for microphone, so that's gone down. On my cue. And good morning, Mike, and morning, Chuck.
Okay, Henry. W71S, K0DWC with W7MS. Alrighty, well, let's see if there's another 3 out there who'd like to join us for the British Military Radio, and that being our check-in. Coming down to number 3. Good morning, Bill. 6 Bravo Charlie Tango. Well, you're strong this morning. 100% copy. Good morning. Go ahead and make a transmission, Bill. Send it back up to me, K0DWC. 6 Bravo Charlie Tango. Go ahead. Okay, Bill. Inverters on the solar panels, huh? Oh, wow. Oh, man. All right, well, let's see if there's a number 4 out there that'd like to check in. We're going to start the net here in just a minute or two. We'll get going. Going to be an early check-in. Be number 4. You're welcome to come now. Number 4 out there. Like to check in for the British Military Radio on that. One more time, we'll get the net started. Number 4, are you out there? W7MKA. Good morning, Robert. Boy, you got a strong signal in here from Grants Pass this morning. Wow, you must be running the big power, the BC610. How you doing this morning? W7MKA, K0DWC.
Oh, we're doing all right this morning. The conditions aren't fabulous, and we're not running the heat load power. We're on the GRC, well, it's GRC 46. Of course, the T195 and R396. But so far, I'm just happy with that.
Yeah, Robert, you're sounding really good this morning. I hope the conditions stay like that. That's great. Okay, Robert, I've got you in the 4 spot, W7MKA. Is there number 5 out there that would like to check in for the British Military Radio on that? Come now. Okay, nothing heard. So I guess we'll go ahead and get the net started. Good morning again to all, and this is K0DWC, Chuck. in Dayton Valley, and I'll be in net control this morning. We'll be on 3.974 megacycles. These military radio nets, round table net, AM net, that provides an opportunity for licensors to operate their vintage military radio gear on the air. Military gear is encouraged. A certain amount of requirement to give it a number. That can be used through Zoom-box. And I'll call for check-ins at the end of each round table discussion. If you have anything for sale or want, please mention it during your turn in the lineup there. So with that, we're running our standard net control station this morning. AL213, approximately 200 watts, and plus or minus, and listening on ARR7, R45 ARR7 receiver, and D104 amplified microphone. Everything's going through an inverted V, and as a backup, I've got my R388 with the loop antenna, just in case I need to leak someone out if the conditions get bad. But anyway, that's our rundown. So here's the rundown as I've got it. Number 1 is Mike, W7MS. Number 2 is Henry, WA7YBS. Number 3 is Bill, N6. Bravo, Charlie, Tango, and number 4 is Robert. So one more quick check for number 5, and then we'll go up to Mike. Is there number 5 out there? Come now. Okay, nothing heard, so we'll go over to Reno and send it to Mr. Bowsy. W7MS in the group, 60 DWC. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, well, thank you. DWC. Net control, W7MS, Mike Carino. Good morning to Henry, Bill, and Robert. And I would concur, Robert's great morning to Reno. And Henry's quite strong. I heard Bill, which is the exception, not the rule, but Bill was fine. And for you trucks, I'm not USB, so I think maybe orientation and antenna radiation pattern common use between I'd call a little sub-almanol, sub whatever. It's tough, but you're still Q5, so I appreciate the comments on the signal records, but that's the life. But not letting the wireless sub-19, letting the another Commonwealth radio, and that's the courtesy of the Air Force, the AT-7 transmitter, Canadian Marconi, 1943, listed on the companion CR-6, introduction by RCA Victor Limited in 1942. So a mighty 7 watts of screen modulation to the 30S1, so about 180 watts of carrier power. And I definitely see some problems on the scope, so I am hitting the 100% modulation, at least when I'm shoving into the microphone here, into the T17. So that's the setup, and about 700 hertz low in frequency, because I decided to go crystal control on this. I get a little bit more carrier output from the AT-7, which gives me at least a little bit improved and proper loading for the screen modulation issues, which come into play when I'm only about 3 watts carrier level on the VSO, and maybe too much information, but it's based on the fact that everything is operated times 2 in the frequency multiplier, at least originally, whether it's crystal control or VSO. So I think there's a little bit of a drive level that's lost in translation, but we're on a fundamental crystal here on at least somewhere near 3974 operating on the fundamental here on the transmitter. So that's the long version of reality. Nice to be here. Took last Sunday off, and I was starting to worry that I slow up and I scare everybody off. So we've got a nice group of folks here. Over to Henry, WA7, YBS, W7MS.
Okay, Mike.
W7NS, WA7YBS. Okay, well, good morning to Bill and good morning to Robert. Well, you guys got good signals, and of course Chuck and Mike are quite strong in here. And so anyway, maybe one of the differences, I don't know, there's a couple things about the QTH here. And one is the water table. You know, it's we're 600 feet from the river, the Carson River, and so you don't have to go very deep for water, that's for sure. And so I noticed that this place, when we first moved here, that's about 13 years ago, is comparable to the KTH that I had down in Minden and Carson Valley. And that was another place that had a very shallow water table. And that was, well, you know, that was a long time ago, 30 years ago. And that place was one of the best for reception and for transmitting. And I think this place here in Dayton Valley is comparable. And so anyway, I think that's what helps. The collinear array, you know, theoretically that antenna should have around 1.5 dB a gain or so on 75 meters. But, you know, whether it actually does or not, it does seem to be a better receive antenna than the one that's out in the shop. You know, the 130-foot inverted V. This one's 230 feet center fed, and is a little short, but that's okay because we're almost up on 4 meg. So anyway, that's the rundown of the station peripheral devices. And of course, as mentioned, it's the 32V3 and for the transmitter, and the receiver is the Raycal RA17L. That's the genuine made in Bracknell, England. And version of Raycal are the ones I got that are, so some of them are made in Bracknell, but they're you know, they're made for NATO or the United States. And in fact, one of the ones that I'm working on now is the first all-solid state Raycal, the RA6217 is the full version. E is an Echo, and that's the version that was made for a pan adapter. Yeah, I wish I had the pan adapter, but I don't. But anyway, it's our friends up there in Sparks have one for sale right now. Got the low frequency converter with it. It's in some really ugly cabinet. I don't know where they got that cabinet, but it is ugly. And so anyway, you can get an idea what the RA6217 looks like. Has a mechanical digital readout. Also, the state as mentioned is basically the same circuit as the RA17. You know, so it uses filters and the Wadley loop and all of that sort of jazz. Anyway, I needed a crystal for it. Bad 1.6. Let's see, what is it? As it goes out, 1.6015 megacycle crystal. But one on eBay, not exactly that, but pretty close. And so that's coming. That'll get lower sideband working. So anyway, with that, let me turn it over to Bill. M6 BCT WA7 YBS. Go ahead.
FPA. Not very good copy on Google, but that's pretty normal. But everybody else got 100%. Okay, on the rate calculator, I got close to one of those one time. Thought we had a trade worked out. I had an R388 I really wanted. But then we ended up selling the receiver. And I thought you wanted the trade. Anyway, I think it was the rate calculator. Even had the LA17LF or something like that. I was really interested in it, so it's kind of bummed. Yeah, it's been up to 2 weeks. I finally finished work on a Marconi CR300, a receiver I'd never even heard of. I was a little familiar with the CR100, but I found that we had a write-up on the website there. That was really, really useful. Kind of, you mentioned that you experienced the real difference in performance with the English Spec 2 versus the American equivalent. Eager to try that out, but I kind of got the same problem where it's performance over maybe 10 months or so is really lackluster. So that's the difference with the 66 Sixers. It would only work on some bands. Or maybe you got half of them. And the others, the CLO just didn't go to operate, so I would say that well, we found a 6K8 that was roll in there and finally got overburned fast. So it's kind of a neat little rig. So what I paired up with, the original four-penny transmitter, it was really looks really neat, and I think we can put a little drop on it. Anyway, back up to the top, 8-0-TWC to 77 inches.
Robert. Well, you still continue to have a good signal, just a little bit of QSB, but negligible at best right now anyway. You're 100% copy. Bill was too. Easy copy. Mike, I figured that was your wireless at 19. It's always a treat to hear that on. I like hearing that. I like the way it sounds. You know, when you said you hollered in the microphone, you know, you really picked up, and it didn't sound like you were actually hollering. It sounded like, you know, you were just speaking normal, really. That's weird. I mean, you weren't overdoing it or anything. You were just kind of speaking loudly into the microphone, and it made a big difference, but yet it didn't sound like you were hollering, screaming. So that's an interesting observation. But anyway, let's see if there's anybody else out there. Let's see number 5 on the tail end of the first round for the Vince Montero Radio. That number 5's open if you want to check in and come out. Okay, nothing heard. So, okay. Anyway. Stuff going on here, not much. I told Mike earlier before the next started, I went and got the rebuilt heater cord from A1 radiator there in Reno. Fuel control valve's bad, so I got to send that off to Box Central to have them rebuild it. They're all set up to do it. And the other one's going to be sent out to get that. So that's kind of where I'm at on that. Doing a lot of work outside. Trying to see weeds here and there. Checking all the stuff, all that good stuff. Cleaning out. The temperature hasn't been too bad over the last couple of days. It's kind of been in the mid-80s, which makes a difference for me. In the mid-90s, I wouldn't be doing that. Anyway, that's kind of what's been going on here. A little bit of this and a little bit of that. Anyway, we'll start round 2, and we'll send it up to Mike with that neat wireless 719 and ER6 W7MS. Take it, 30 VWC.
Well, thank you, Chuck, for the correction. It's the transmitter's an AT7 and the receiver's an AR6. There's no wireless at 19 enabled here this morning because I wanted to have a few dB advantage on the receive signal level. W7MS here. And actually the microphone, and that was for dramatic exaggeration. Relative to the microphone. Just speaking clearly and abruptly and relatively loud speaking voice into the T17M, the Ronell 1950 model T17 with the discrete microphone cartridge as opposed to the purpose-built take it apart and have a cartridge manual installed on the that let's see, Greg Henry on the radio culture. There's something along there was a certain individual in the area that had several retail devices over the years, and you may have done a handshake on that. And I'm aware of the one that I thought I'd seen it, and yeah, no other comments, especially on the price structure on that puppy. No, Bob, we still hope you keep on in the last position. That's worth a comment. We hear you. And Robert's doing quite well, and Robert's retail involved also. That's a good one. Project here, I want to throw a comment out there. Well, on the heater core issue, Chuck, it's bringing back memories of that white cloud of it's not smoke, but when you have a leaky core in a vintage automobile, it's always an interesting winter morning when you get this Hollywood smoke that's cruising on it. But at least, I guess they're getting you on the restoration as far as budgetary considerations. And of course, Steve Arnold's on now, when they have to totally disassemble the gas, re-gas the air conditioning, pre-on recovery, et cetera, it turns into like it's probably a good job. Usually just because some actuator motor's crapped out somewhere in the dash and you can't get any hot air on it. But that's another issue. Been there, done that on one of those T12 meters a while back. But project here, received my latest impulse purchase, and that's an SRNSI LCR meter from our friends in China. And a very sophisticated device. It measures all parameters, and it's whoopie-doopie-doo. And on the vintage military vein, finally got motivated on my RAS 1 intermediate receiver, the one that's actually useful for this frequency, that I picked up at a swap some time ago, neutral hamster AC power supply modification. Fortunately, it was a clean power supply, but extremely old school. In other words, capacitor input choke filtering well over the 160 volts design parameters for B+. And it looks like a hamster put it together, so we're doing an improved version on that one and starting over with classic new school, which isn't all that new school, but you have a very large input capacity filter and then an MOSFET voltage regulator on the output. That really simplifies things, and we'll get that 160 volts plus to the RAS1. So looking forward to that. Always wanted one. The mint condition collectible version, especially on eBay, go for that's so crazy prices. I'm going to see that shit. But also, any comments on USPS priority mail? I'm on a rampage. All I say is priority mail is rather the same as ground advantage, and you get ripped off because in the last year or so I've actually yet to see a priority mail package with any indication on an aircraft delivered on time. It's never that's enough of my USDA clearance. So, over to Henry, W87YBS, W7MS.
Okay, Mike. W7MS, WA7YBS. I don't remember how many years ago it was, 2 or 3, 4, something like that. The Postmaster General said that the postal workers were too stressed and that they needed to change priority mail. So it's exactly the same as the Ground Advantage or first class, but they still charge you. They still charge you more money. So I guess that's the stress reliever. But at any rate, yeah, I guess they were afraid the postal workers would go postal if they had too many priority mail packages. But yeah, I've noticed that too, that priority mail costs you more, but it does less. So, okay, on Robert, yeah, on the CR300, yeah, you know, the one I had was kind of a dog at first, but you got to play around with it quite a bit on the alignment, and then that dual IF that it has, I think like one of them is 900 or something. It's right in the middle of the broadcast band anyway. And when you try to do NDBs with that, of course, you can't really pick up too many NDBs anymore, but at the time, 400 kilocycles, almost so much leakage from the broadcast band getting in there. I had to put a wave trap in the antenna circuit. And it was true on the grid too. I forget which one that was. I believe it was the RF amplifier. It had an American equivalent, and I don't remember what it was, but at any rate, I did get a Brit tube for it, and it perked right up. The other thing was the detector, ABC, our first audio, was, it's a DG something or other. Anyway, I did get a Brit tube for that, and it was one of those tubes that, it tested good, but it only tested good for about 3 minutes, and then it just started doing bonkers and crazy and stuff, and it just, so I'm telling the guy that, when he sold it, he tested the tube, and yeah, it's in the tube tester for about 1 minute. And it works good for 1 minute. In fact, it worked good for about 3 minutes, and then it would crap out. So I had to put a 6Q7 G, and it had to be a G, 6Q7, because the shroud that goes around the collar at the base of the tube for the shield, there, if you tried to put a metal 6Q7 in there, it wouldn't fit. So you had to have the 6Q7G. But mine, the real big problem on mine was the power supply. It was in crummy condition, and it had a complete overhaul. But yeah, this is a cool receiver, and I must have the widest band coverage. I think the thing goes from about 15 kilocycles to 28 meg. It's, it does, I'm pretty sure it goes pretty low, VLF, LF, medium wave, and shortwave. So it had quite a bit. That's why I had the dual IFs. And so anyway, yeah, 300, the CR300 Marconi is a cool receiver. And Mike, those 6217, I got 3 of them, $10 each. Now that's the price they should be, $10 each. I know that up there at our friends in Sparks, quite a bit more than that. But, of course, these belong to, Mr. Gentleman. And those of us who know or knew, he's in SK now. I don't think he was ever a ham, so he's just deceased now. But Tuckman was a collector of a lot of different kinds of junk. And these were stuffed in the back of one of his storage units. He had 7 storage units at one time. And so they were all over the place. They were in Carson City, and these Ray Cals were in Mound House, and just to the east of Carson City. And so anyway, I got all 3 of them for $10 each, and only one of them was restorable. The other ones were part sets. So that's the history on the solid state recounts. They came from the estate of Mr. Tuttleman, another Mr. T, but not the infamous Mr. T. Over to Bill, M6BCT WA7, YBS.
That time. With respect to Henry, USP really got ahead here. I got probably half of what Mike was saying, and Henry was okay, but I lost Phil, and I barely kept Robert. Anyway, let's see if there's a number 5 out there that wants to be in the tail end of the second round, and we'll get to the 7-3 round. Number 5 out there, come on.
64, Delta Victor, Quebec.
Okay, where's Carla? Finally woke up. Okay, Carla, go ahead and make a transmission and send it back up to me.
Okay, K0DWC, W4DB2 here. I just wanted to pop in and say hello to everybody. And the first round, I heard everybody while I was waking up. So, and Bill, you Yeah, time to wake up. I'm gonna get another cup of coffee, but I just wanted to pop in and say hi, and that it's a 73 for me. It's a one and done, guys. So I'm going to hand it back up to Chuck, KZM, DWC, Whiskey 4, Delta Victor, Quebec. 73, guys.
Okay, Paula, one and done. 84 DVQ, gentlemen. All right, so number 6 out there, let's check in. Come next. Okay, nothing heard. Well, I guess we better go ahead and start the 7-3 round and get that done because conditions aren't getting any better, I'll tell you that. Let's go back up to the top and do the 7-3 round, guys. So we'll go back up top. It's going to be 7 MS. Thank you. So go ahead, Mike.
Well, thank you, Chuck. Hopefully you can hear me. At least 50% okay. DWCW7 and that's all. Good morning, it's 73 for Carla. I think it was quite obvious that she's finished her first cup of coffee, so good morning to she. Well, comments. Everybody's keeping busy. Thanks, yeah, the infamous Parliament estate. Well, there was, gold nugget, secondary and all that junk. And I know Henry had some exclusive digging capabilities there. I think I was a little later in the excavation process. All my few on settlement area. Of course, not confused with the infamous number P. Can't help but think about him on occasion when I'm looking at a piece of equipment, or noting that I don't have dozens of hang-ups in my call history. He's very unique. But it's fun. Everybody's super busy. And maybe in a couple of weeks I'll have that RS1 here on 3974. Nice little project, but category of it, well, it's just another radio, and well, it's time. And looking forward to playing with it, other than on the one where I fired it up to the initial no cruise. But with that 7-3 for Reno, everybody take it easy, and thanks to the next controllers here on frequency, whether they're on duty or listening, to putting up with summer conditions and the usual reduction in activity due to propagation and all the other challenges. But unfortunately, as I was discussing with someone the other day, they had to mention winter. And then I was saying, yes, September is my month where I go out and purchase 3 tons of wood pellets. I can't wait because that means that famous word from a certain HBO series, winter is coming. And center propagation, but the other drawback that I'll take 100-degree days any day. So enough of that monologue and diatribe. Over to Henry, WA7YDS, W7NS.
Okay, Mike. 7NS, WA7, YDS. Yeah, I agree. One thing about it, when you're working outside in January, if you cut yourself, you don't bleed. You don't bleed till you come in. That was always something that annoyed me. But anyway, I don't know, maybe that's an advantage, but it's better if it's, doing stuff in the mid-80s to mid-90s. That's fine. And, yeah, summer's all too short in Nevada. Well, this part of Nevada, anyway. Yeah, Mr. T, the differentiation between the Mr. T's, and of course, the infamous Mr. T, was the consummate destructor of vintage radio equipment. Whenever he got a hold of something, he couldn't wait to put his little mark on it. And, my worst example of that, where there's so many, I don't know where to begin, but was the SP600 BLM. Quite a very rare and desirable receiver. It was in good original condition until Mr. T got it and punched a 1-inch hole in the back of the chassis to install a phone jack. Yeah, I couldn't believe that when I saw that. That was Mr. T, and of course Barry, Mr. Tuttleman. It was just if you wanted to get rid of something, couldn't sell it, nobody wanted it. You could always rely on Barry to come and take it. Sometimes you had to load it in his truck for him, but at least he would take it. And that was a good thing. You could always get rid of stuff. And there was always a place for even the worst piece of junk, as Mr. Tuttleman would take it. So anyway, we'll say 73. Everybody have a good week coming up. And I'll turn it over to Bill, N6BCT, WA7YBS. Robert, W7MKA, Bill turned it over to you. Go ahead. Okay, Robert. W7MKA. All right. Thanks for that, Henry.
Because I didn't hear Robert, and I didn't know if I barely heard him the last time, so thanks for calling. Okay, all right, guys. Well, I guess that will take care of it for this week. I'll be net controlling again next week. Let's call punches me in the arm and tell him well, she wants to anyway, thanks for being there, guys. We appreciate it. And hope to see all of you back next week, or next weekend. And hope everybody has a good day today and a good week ahead. So with that, I'll close the net down for today. And again, want to thank everybody for their participation. And I will be back next Sunday morning. That will turn the frequency back over to regular use. So Henry, I'll give you a buzz later this afternoon. And I'll let you know what to do. So anyway, this is KZRDWC, Dayton Valley, signing off, 773. Thanks, guys.